Welcome to the Instagram Stories. I'm your host, Daniel Hill. If this is your first time listening or watching, here's how this works. I find people who are industry experts, who are either social media marketers, brand managers, content creators, or people who work within the industry, and I get them to come on the show and share all their secrets, the things they only tell their friends. I invite them to come on, ask them the deep, meaningful questions, and get them to share their answers in a short amount of time because you are busy and you should be spending time creating content or doing other exciting things, not necessarily all day listening to a podcast. Today, I'm here with Diego Sanchez, who works on the Buffer team. He's a product manager on the Buffer team, and they've recently released some new features, not only that are going to help you and make your life easier, but they're going to be working on some things that aren't quite ready yet, and Diego's going to share what they're working on. If you like this content, if it brings you any value, please go on Apple Podcasts and leave a review of the show. It only takes a minute. You can write just a couple of lines, and it helps other people to find the show. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps me and also makes me feel like I'm not just talking into the void. If you like this kind of content, I do another podcast called the Instagram Stories Social Media News, which you can find on Apple Podcasts, Google News, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts. And in short 8 to 10 minute increments, I share social media news from people who work at the platforms. You'll find clips from the CEO of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, the CEO of Meta, Mark Zuckerberg, the CEO of TikTok, Shou Chu, and other people who work at the platforms. I insert those clips into the podcast and give my take so you know you're getting the news right from the source, not just my opinion. Although I put a little bit of that in too. Okay, now that you have all the background, let's get into today's interview with Diego. We're here with Diego Sanchez from the Buffer team. Diego, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Diego, for people who aren't familiar with you, can you tell us who you are and what it is that you do?
Great. So, my name's Diego Sanchez. I'm from Colombia. I've been nomading for a few years, and I'm part of the Buffer team. I've been at Buffer for 6 going on 7 years now. I am part of the product team, and I've focused on new product development, so building new things at Buffer. In my time here, I've built products like Reply. So for people who've been using Buffer for a while, might remember it. Engage, which is still live today, but we're deprecating it soon. Start page, and now we just launched Community. So I focused on new product development at Buffer.
I love that. Let's back up for a quick second. If people have been listening to the show for a while, they've heard some of your colleagues from Buffer on the show previously. But if people are not familiar with Buffer, tell us what it is.
Great. Yeah. So Buffer is a social media management suite. We're here to help small businesses and creators get off the ground and grow. And basically, we have a set of offerings, a set of tools to help you connect with your audience. We know social media can be hard. We know at the beginning you might not get enough traction or enough comments. And right now, one of our strategic priorities is to help you go from zero to habit, building a habit on social, and then to seeing results. And to do that, we have a series of tools to help you. So a series of tools for small businesses and creators, such as a publishing platform where you can publish content to more than 13 channels today. We also have an analytics platform to get feedback on what's working, which are the best times to post. And now we're introducing our engagement feature, which is replacing our existing one. And that's basically meant to help you complete the picture. We believe that posting is important, but if you post and ghost, you might not see the right results. It's like you don't. It's like two parts of the same coin. Like it's very important. So we want to offer all of those tools to make it easy for you to grow your audience and find your voice.
I want to get into each one of those. Let's start first with the publishing tool. That's the one that I am most familiar with, so I feel most comfortable to talk about this. How does the Buffer publishing tool work? I want to say what I think, but please give a better explanation, and then I'll add in some bits of how I've used it.
Absolutely. So basically what we do is we connect through APIs, and I won't get into like technical details, but we work with partners such as the Meta platform, LinkedIn, X, to be able to publish content on your behalf, right? So you can just sit once at Buffer and plan all your content, know when you want it to go out. We can also help you choose the best times to post for each content depending on the platform. And then you can relax and just, it all goes out when you wanted it to.
Yes. So one of the things that I love about the Buffer tool, and I talk about this all the time, is if you are just getting started or you don't have a large budget, you can post to 3 separate platforms for free without paying using the Buffer tools. And I love that. The best part, really, I think, about this publishing tool is that it allows you to customize the post for each platform before you post. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yep. And I'll start by sharing a little bit about why we're truly committed to staying free. Buffer is a mission-driven, values-led company, and to me, that's one of the most important parts of it. That's why I decided to join this company. I've been here for almost 7 years because we really want to see a world with more small businesses that do good while doing well. And this is, we live and breathe our values every day. We're a fully transparent company. Our salaries are online. Our revenue metrics are online. Our customer count is online. We share everything in our open blog. And I think that's something that people can resonate with. It builds trust in the brand and in what we're doing. And in turn, that's why I think a lot of people trust in our service to, come to Buffer, to grow your audience, to connect with your community, and to post online, right? So that's a little bit about the why it's so important for us to have that free plan.
I fundamentally agree with everything you're saying, but I just think that's so unusual in this landscape where people say, don't leave money on the table. And we've seen where products have just gotten worse and worse over time so that companies can charge more money and you have nowhere else to go. So I think that right off the bat is just a very refreshing outlook on software, app development, social media. It's very unusual.
And I'll share another reason why that is. Buffer, raised a small round when it got started. It's going on 15 years now. And now in recent years, we've actually been buying out our early investors. And this is because part of the desire is for the company to be fully independent. And that allows us in the product team, for example, to make decisions that we know are better in the long run. So, and this can be things like, we want to keep a free plan, a generous free plan. We want to lean on generosity. We want to make sure, because our mission is to help small businesses get off the ground and grow and creators get off the ground and grow, we believe a free plan is a key part of this. Like when you're getting started, you're on a budget, you don't know what works yet. You might be trying different channels and trying to figure out what's going to work for you, what's going to resonate, what's going to stick. And without a free plan, that's kind of hard. You're already having to commit to paying some amount of money every month where you don't even have any money coming in. So that's why I think the free plan is a strategic pillar for us. It's very important and it's also a key part of our mission. We really want to see a world with more businesses that do good while doing well. We have thousands of nonprofits, small businesses, brick and mortar shops, people doing all sorts of things. And we believe the world is actually going to be a better place if we have more of these small businesses and more diversity there. So it all comes down from that mission. But tactically, how we're able to actually get this to work is through that independence, right? Because if we had a lot of pressure from investors to grow really quickly, we might have to cut corners or make some decisions that won't really be in the best interest of our customers.
Right.
So I think that's part of how we've been able to structure this operation and the business for this to work.
I think that's a fascinating approach to put the user's needs ahead of the company's immediate cash flow opportunities. That's just so unheard of in this day and age.
Yeah, and I'll share more stories around that if that's interesting.
Please.
We actually were burning cash for a few years, and it was a difficult moment. I've been at Buffer. I joined in 2019 at the very peak of our growth, and then we started declining a little bit in revenue, in customer count. We were going through a bit of a crisis, and I think that was hard. But even through that valley of the difficult time, we still were not compromising on our decisions and putting what we believe was right for customers, which to me is why we're growing really fast today, and why today our MRR is growing really quickly, our customer count, we're hiring, we kind of turned that corner. But I think part of the real reason behind that is that we always were thinking about doing the right thing, even if it was the hardest, and doing the right thing for our customers as well. So to me, that's really refreshing, quite unique. I know a lot of companies are not in such a fortunate position to be able to do the same, and people in product might not be able to make the same decisions as the ones we were able to do. So I think that path to being an independent company was key here in being able to serve our customers and really do what we think is right for them.
Yeah, I love this. Let's talk quickly about, we've already talked if you're perhaps a small creator or a small business starting out and you can take advantage of the tool, just 3 platforms. But say you're a social media manager and you're managing 10 different clients across multiple platforms and it's hard to keep it all straight. How can you use Buffer in order to do that? Because I think that's really a thing that people don't realize is so powerful for Buffer.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you grow, a lot of things start to happen. If you manage multiple channels, it's hard to stay on top of when do I have to post this, or staying on top of comments across multiple platforms is hard as well. So Buffer makes this easy because you just come to the platform and you organize all your content. We have a section called Create where you can store ideas or draft if you're not sure yet what's going to turn out to be a great post. And then you basically start planning everything. And you say, all right, I want to post. We have a thing now called Streaks, which helps you, stay accountable, make sure you stick to it. But we also have posting goals. So you can define a posting goal per channel depending on what works. So you might say something like, for TikTok, I want to post twice a day, for example, or once a day. But maybe for LinkedIn or other channels, I want to post once a week. That's, totally depends on your content strategy. And we have built-in tools to help you with that. So we have streaks, posting goals, and then you can just plan all your content across the different channels. Or for some people, it also means just posting across channels, the same content, right? Or making slight adjustments to it. So it really depends, but we have all of these tools built in to make it easy for you to manage many channels. So it's not just when you're doing 1 or 2 channels and getting started. We have customers with, 20, 30, 50 channels connected. And it really makes it easy for them because it's a lifesaver. You have, you can manage everything in just one place.
Right.
And you also can create a team as well. So you don't have to share credentials. You can just give permissions to different people to post on one channel but not another, or to create drafts and then you approve them. So as you start to scale, we have all of these tools already built into the service to help you and make your life a little bit easier.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the nuances of the platforms, if you don't mind. And this may be something that's not quite possible yet or on the Buffer roadmap, but I know that there are so many different nuances for each platform. So for instance, on Instagram, certain audios might be trending or on the way up, and you can see, hey, that's one I should use as background music, or that's a reel that I can copy. Or you might upload a YouTube short, and then you realize you can only add the YouTube short thumbnail from inside the YouTube mobile app. Why? I have no idea, but that's just one of the nuances of YouTube, right? Or you might see a particular trend is blowing up on TikTok and you want to make that, but it hasn't quite hit Instagram yet. So is there a way to kind of handle some of these nuances through the Buffer platform, or is that something that is coming in the future?
It's something that we'd like to see, but I'd also like to explain a little bit about the why it's not always possible. So when you're posting natively, you're directly in the Buffer in the Instagram app or TikTok, you get access to pretty much everything, right? Like you have trending sounds, you can, do as, the sky's the limit basically. But when you're working through third-party APIs, which is what we have to do, you don't get access to all of the features, right? So we're constantly working with our partners to improve what's available via the APIs so that we can make these things possible, so that you can, tag someone, which is possible, or so that you can mention someone, things that seem simple, but getting to more complex ones like trending audios and stuff like that, I think that's where it gets a little tricky sometimes. And our only option there is to continue to work with our partners to make sure that we eventually can support those functionalities. So it's not always possible, but we have a feature, like one of our values is default to transparency, as I shared. Our salaries are transparent, our blog is open, and we really rely on customer feedback as well to guide our product decisions. So we have an open roadmap request, like people can basically create requests for new features and vote and comment, and we really rely on that quite a lot. We try to focus on those top requests and make sure we ship them. And when it's not possible due to restrictions, as I was sharing via the API, we try to work with our partners and say, look, we're really getting a lot of requests from this. This would unlock a ton of value for creators and small businesses and contribute to more content on the platform. So we do work with our partners to try to unlock that. It's not always possible, though.
I get what you're saying about the APIs and the limitations there. One of the things that I learned recently is that you can upload, if you're going to post a video, to multiple places, and one of them is LinkedIn. You can add, I believe, the thumbnail for the LinkedIn video through the interface, where you can't do that for some of the other platforms. Is that right? Am I remembering properly?
I think that's correct, yeah.
And that's one where I think I even, tweeted to the Buffer team and I said, oh, I wish I could do this. And they were like, oh, you can, right? And so I felt silly that I'd missed that button. But those are the nuances of the platforms, obviously not something you control.
Exactly.
It is nice to be able to see everything in one interface and post to multiple places. But I feel like sometimes the platforms reward you for using those different features that may be required to do from within the app or on the website of that platform. So sometimes that can be a little bit of a challenge.
I agree. I think, and that's why we're trying to get to as much parity as possible. where there are limitations, get creative on how we can support people using the platform to make it easier for you. So for example, when you can't schedule stories, for example, but we can create reminders for you, right? So we make it easy for you because you have all the content there, the copy, so it's just copy, paste, and it, you save time, So when there are limitations, we do try to go the extra mile and put ourselves in the creator's shoes and see, all right, how can we help given the limitations, given that we know this is important for them. So that's usually how we go about it. I'll give you another example. When it comes to responding to comments, we get different different things are possible depending on the channel, right? So for example, for some channels, we get near real-time capabilities, which is great. You're in Buffer and a comment comes in, you can reply to it immediately. For others, we don't. And that's a tricky thing, right? Because that means we have to constantly poll to see and to see when new comments have come in.
Some interval, 10 minutes or whatever.
Exactly. So there a lot of thinking goes into this because we say, all right, let's look at who's active. And if you're active, we try to poll more frequently. If you're inactive or at risk of maybe becoming inactive, we poll less frequently. And if you're inactive, we stop searching or maybe just search once a week or something like that. So a lot of thinking goes into into this because these are hard problems to solve sometimes. But we really are committed to creating a really good experience for creators and small businesses. But people have no idea sometimes, like all the thinking and like
use cases
hoops and loops that we need to jump to. So it's pretty tough. But hopefully it doesn't feel that way. Hopefully when you're using Buffer, you're like, this feels intuitive. This feels right. But yeah, some problems were quite complex to get to that level of simplicity.
Yeah, sure. Since we're talking about the comments and responding to comments, I know you have some analytics data that the Buffer team has been working on. Can you share a little bit about that? And then we'll dive into the new product.
Absolutely. So recently, we have a one-person data science team, but he's incredible. Julian has been at Buffer for years. And
I heard great things about Julian.
He is something else. He's very special. So basically, Julian analyzed 2 million posts across different channels. We have a lot of data, naturally. So this allows us to do some really interesting things and make data-informed decisions. So after analyzing 2 million posts across different channels, we wanted to understand what is the impact of replying to comments and what does that do to the post's engagement?
That's such a high level question, right? What is it? Does responding to comments do anything, right? That's really the question.
And it's something that a lot of creators and SMBs are probably asking themselves. I know people are probably thinking, what is the best time to post? That's a question that you usually always think about. You want your content to do really well.
And to be seen.
And to be seen, right? You put time and effort into it. The other piece is if I respond to comments, what impact does it have? Does it boost reach? Does it help with impressions or engagement? What does it do? So is it worth my time? Because it is hard for some people. You start getting comments and then you feel like you're drowning and you just give up.
And you're not sure, should I be responding in a short comment? Is an emoji good enough and that person feels like they were seen and heard? Or is a long sarcastic response worth the time? Like this is drilling down, but please continue.
We can chat a little bit about that. So so basically Julian analyzed 2 million posts across different channels and he saw that there was an engagement lift for creators who regularly reply to comments between 5 and 42%, depending on the channel, which is incredible. For channels like LinkedIn, top of my head, it's a 30% uplift. So it's definitely worth your time. Like if you want your content to perform and you want people to engage with your content, replying regularly will boost your performance by 30% according to our data on LinkedIn.
Okay, do you mean now 30% of the people whose comments you responded to are coming back to your page? Or they're responding again to the comment? Like, what does that mean, the uplift?
Well, basically, what we analyze, we measure engagement as interaction with a post, right? Okay. So did people leave a comment? Did people, like it, do something with it? So by looking at reach, at the number of impressions, and then how many people left a comment or engaged, in some form with the post, that's a good sign,
Yes.
So basically, we realize that if creators take the time to reply, they see more engagement in their posts, which if you zoom out a little bit, it kind of makes sense, right? Because, and I like to think about it this way too. When I share a LinkedIn post, for example, I know that in the first 10 minutes are important for the post to perform well. And part of this is just the signal that you send to people that see your posts. So if they see, for example, that you're an engaged creator that's replying to their comments, they're more likely going to leave a question or leave a comment. So I just like to abstract it and kind of go a level up and say it kind of makes sense, right? Like if people see that you're responsive, they're more likely going to share some comment or question with you. So just think about relationship building, or it's like at the end it's just humans interacting through a platform, right? So to me, it's just about that importance, and that's why we're so committed on building community and these set of features around that, because we really want to help people connect with other people. And it's less of a performative thing, or where you're just building an audience and shouting into the void, and more of like, there are humans on the other side, and you're going to find a ton of great ideas for content there. You're going to meet interesting people along the way. You're going to learn things about yourself. You're also going to get great feedback about what's working, what's not. And if you think of a platform like TikTok, for example, I think a lot of creators grow and find new content ideas from just the comments. They're
Sure.
basically just replying to comments all day long.
Yeah. And you see
know?
sometimes people have said, I've gotten this question a ton of times in the comments.
Yep.
I'm going to make a video about it, right? And that makes
Which
sense.
sometimes I
Yeah,
suspect people just make that up.
Yeah, sure.
But I think there's like the interactions that you can have with your community are so valuable, and that's why it's to me, it's even beyond the numbers. The numbers are interesting, and I think what our data shows is that you can get more engagement in your posts, and you could probably get more reach as well. We'll have to look into that, but I think they're correlated. But to me, I also want to like zoom out a little bit and share the importance about just building your community and how much value you can get from that too.
So if I can go back a second, you said the platforms range from 42% more engagement to 5% more engagement, right? So do you mind which platforms have more engagement as a result of replying to comments? Because that sounds like the platforms that creators, brand marketers would want to spend more time replying to comments on. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So top of my head, I think Facebook was like a 9% lift, if I remember correctly. I know LinkedIn is one of the highest at 30%. Threads was really high up there too. So I think we're seeing like a lot of opportunities for creators in platforms like LinkedIn and Threads, where we see from our data that it's worth replying to comments. But honestly, if you think about it, 9% is not even that bad for Facebook. It's like I consider it almost low lift as well, because you just have to reply to a few comments. You get good ideas from there for future content. You're also investing in your audience. They're real humans who are taking the time to leave a comment or share some love and appreciation for you, or ask a question. So, I think that even from the lowest at 5%, which I don't remember which channel it was, I think it's worth the investment. You're getting almost 10% or more, because there was only one channel at 5%, and most were in that range.
Right. So my understanding has been, and I could be thinking mostly about Instagram in this, but people who get 3 to 5% engagement on their posts is kind of average. Obviously it depends on, what kind of creator you are and what your situation is, but having more opportunity to be getting higher engagement just by responding to comments. Okay. That's well worth the investment. If you can go up to 20%, 30% engagement,
crazy.
because of you were just simply not spending more time creating the content, not spending more time editing the videos, not spending more time creating thumbnails that people only see for a quarter of a second. Responding to comments is what I think that's really like a fundamental shift in how people think about it. But also, since you mentioned Threads was higher on the list, and I think LinkedIn was higher on the list as well, I was kind of thinking what that indicates. I mean, obviously Threads is new. I think it's less than 2 years old, right, at this point. So does that mean people are more interested in having dialogue and conversations either on more text-based platforms as opposed to more video-centered platforms? Or is new still exciting and engaging because it's new? And I think that's an interesting idea too. If you had to place a bet, which one would you think? Like, why are the platforms that are having higher engagement to comments having higher engagement to comments?
That's such a good question, honestly.
We need Julian. We need Julian.
Yeah, we need Julian for this. Julian, hit us up.
Julian, if you're listening, we need you.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think it's every platform has a different vibe. People have different objectives, and my gut tells me that it's just a matter of like the types of interactions and communities that you are creating. Because when you design a social media channel or platform, you create incentives, right? You reward certain types of content. The algorithm is basically has a set of rules that rewards or punishes certain things, right? And I think over time that creates differences in the communities. So you can have a community that's, for example, very critical, or a community that's, that loves uplifting content and hates other things and just wants to focus on, feeling good. So there's like nuances to each platform. And I suspect that this data is just a reflection of some of that, where platforms are taking a different route or going more, focusing more on paid and other things. I would suspect that the strategy behind LinkedIn and a platform like Threads, for me, it's more about creating those conversations and nurturing that community. So I suspect it's more about that, unless because they're new. But that's just my gut. That's what
Right.
that's what I'm observing.
It would make sense, the community vibe, right? That's what you want, is to be heard when you go. And if you join a conversation and someone responds to that conversation, it's giving you the not only dopamine, but the interaction that you're looking for. So that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think these communities are focused on different things. LinkedIn was, born as a platform for you to find a new job and things like these, but it's evolving very quickly. So in that sense, I think we're starting to see what that could look like and what people are coming together to discuss and in that platform. Threads, I think, is longer, like a short form, and people just have more casual conversations there. I don't know where it's going, but I think what we're seeing now is just that type of content there, and people just have fun, so that's why I think it makes sense to see a bit more engagement in these two networks.
Yeah. Let's talk about the new features that Buffer has rolled out. I know they're complex, getting better. Talk a little bit about those, please, if you don't mind.
Great. So we just launched Community last week. It's been a lot of hard work. We put a lot of effort, heart and soul into it. And as a fun fact, we actually ended up delaying the launch because we really wanted to get this right. We wanted to get the right UX, create a delightful experience that, really helps small businesses and creators and people who, just are having a hard time staying on top of comments. And sometimes that can be, you might not even get as many comments, but it's hard because sometimes notifications can be a bit of a mess and things might slip through the cracks. Or if you're posting across 2 or 3 different channels, it can be easy to miss a comment, right? So I think Community is helping you, manage that more easily. We've been saying that our what we want to achieve here is that you don't post and ghost, which we think is important. We see posting and engaging as 2 parts of the equation, and that's been a fundamental shift for us, and we're putting our focus there. And we believe all these years as a company, we focus mainly on helping you post, helping you publish. Quite recently, we've been focusing more on helping you build that habit, because that can be hard. As you might be able to, you might post and then you don't see any engagement, you don't get any comments, or you don't get enough views. It can be disappointing when you're getting started, right?
Especially if you worked very hard on a piece of content and you thought, oh, this is going to be
and it flops,
doing really well, and it doesn't at all.
Yeah.
Real quick though, I want to just go back to something you said, which is that you didn't launch right away until it was at a level you all felt comfortable with. And working as a product manager, one of the things that we say all the time is MVP. Let's just get something out the door and then make it better. And then I think what you're talking about is also the opposite of how many in the development world think about things, which is like, well, Google says, move fast and break things, right? Like, how can we do that? Was it Google who said that?
Facebook, I think.
Facebook, sorry. Move fast, break things. And Buffer's thought was, no, let's not do that. What does that say?
I think there's been a shift in how we build product. And don't get me wrong, like we do move fast, but we move fast at different stages. Like, for example, we move very quickly from idea to MVP. So we call that stage alpha, where it's just, and I think in that stage, you should move fast because you're going to learn so much more by just interacting with the thing. Sure. When you have something in wireframes or an idea, it might sound great, but then you realize it doesn't really do what I thought it did. Or it might surprise you in a good way and be like, oh, this is actually more powerful than I thought. So in that stage, I think it makes sense to move very quickly. But then going from alpha to beta, we're a little bit more cautious. Before we release that to a select group of people, we try to polish it a little bit more. And I wouldn't say like spend 6 months on that, but we try to polish it a little bit more so that we get the right type of feedback coming in. And sometimes that feedback is silence because it feels intuitive, it's good. We're like, okay, it's.
That's interesting. Knowing when silence is approval versus crickets. Yeah. I think that's really interesting. Yeah.
That's a good point. And then I think from beta to launching something is where we've had instances like this one where we're like, we thought we were ready, but then we're using it and our gut is telling us like, it's not quite there yet. Like it's good, but it's not great. And we really want to create delightful experiences. We want to go a little bit above and beyond. I think in the past, I'm just going to say it. I think our UX was okay. It wasn't the best. I think it was a bit dull at times. It wasn't just the best that we could. And I think lately in the past year or two, we've been pushing ourselves to elevate that quality bar when it comes to the UX, the UI, to create something that's really delightful. And that's part of our strategy, as I was sharing earlier, to go down and wide, to really serve small businesses and creators. And we know people are using other tools that feel very delightful, that are great. And that's why for us, this is a key strategic priority. It's not just a feel good thing or or to just say that we're investing in UX. It's actually a strategic priority. And I think there are businesses that, you know, really have grown tremendously because they have good UX. An example that comes to mind for me is Robinhood. Like I think they have, the finance.
Sorry, my mind jumped to a movie first.
Okay.
I know Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
Or you think of something like Canva. There's people love the UX and the UI and the simplicity of it. And I think that's what we're striving for. So we've been trying to really elevate that quality bar. And in this case with community, I think we had good designs. They were pretty good. We were getting good feedback during the beta program, but our gut was just telling us that we could do better than this. There's little interactions and things that just we could really elevate here. So we made the difficult decision to delay the launch by almost a month to just make sure we went back to the drawing board, sometimes even redid part of the experience and say, no, we're actually fundamentally redoing this card here or this interaction here. Because we think, if you're going to be using community regularly to stay on top of comments, those micro interactions will make a big difference. Like when you reply to a comment and it automatically jumps to the next one, these little things are actually, you don't realize it, but they feel really good. It's like you can't, as a user, you probably can't put your finger on it, but it just feels right. So this is what, where a lot of the thinking went into. And another example of this is the comment score. So as I was sharing, we really want to support creators in going from zero to habit and results. And I think at the beginning, you just need some sort of feedback motivation to keep going. Sometimes that feedback comes from friends or people saying like, oh, I love your content, keep going. Even if your content's getting like 2 or 3 likes, but you get that feedback, it feels good. You want to keep going. So we're trying to also build in some features to help with that. As I shared earlier, we have streaks, we have, posting goals as well. So we have those on the publishing side. But in community, which as I said, these are 2 parts of the same thing. Ultimately, if you want to really succeed in social, I think you should be posting and engaging. And that's kind of how you get that flywheel going. If you're just posting, you're not getting the full power, like you're not really experiencing everything that you could with, when it comes to success on social. So we wanted to build in features to help you on that other part, which is also lonely and hard. And depending on where you sit, you could either be getting hundreds of comments that you just give up and you can't handle them. And we have customers in that bucket. Or we have about 90% of our users who get less than 3 comments, usually on their posts, right? So
that makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah. So, and even at that level, it can still be hard, and people still don't reply because you don't know what to reply, or because you just missed the notification and you just and then it's been a day or 2 and you're like, I'm not gonna reply. You're just gonna like it, or So I think we understand that, right? So that's why we created the comment score, and it's just very subtle. When you reply in community, the comment score just kind of goes up. It's a little nudge. It's kind of like a gamified experience, right?
Okay.
So what I was thinking when we designed this is, let's just create like a sort of subconscious feedback loop. You're not really noticing it that much, but there's something happening every time you take an action. Every time you reply to a comment, something happens on the screen. And after 10 comments, after you hit a certain level, so you go up 1 level because we have different levels there, a little bit of confetti goes out. So it's a little micro interaction.
Feels like a reward.
A little reward, right? And when you clear all your comments, the screen kind of goes, boom, you're all good, and there's feedback constantly happening. And I think that's like an example of how we really wanted to get these little details, right? Of course, there's still a lot of work to do. We're going to keep honing and perfecting this experience, but it's been a fun work to work on because we wanted to create a bit of micro rewards as you're using it, for you to feel like you're putting in the effort, you're putting in the hours, and you're getting something out of it. And then after you do that, you also start getting feedback from people. This has been my case, for example, because at Buffer, when we decided to become a team of creators ourselves as well. So basically everyone at the company right now is creating content. We're going through the same pain and the same problems that small creators and small businesses are going through. All of us are doing that, right? So by doing that, we create a lot of empathy. We've experienced the pain ourselves. Sometimes I post those really well, sometimes it flops. Sometimes I get no comments, and we're learning. So I think that's a valuable experience. But I guess in doing so, we've learned so much, and we're trying to build the tools that we want to use ourselves, basically. So that's how we created the comment score and all of this. And by the way, the comment score is fully interoperable. So if you stop using Buffer and you keep, just replying natively, for example, come back to Buffer, we're still going to score
Oh,
you.
that's great.
And it's
Very
good.
smart.
Yeah,
I love that.
we wanted to create an experience that's fully interoperable
Right,
so
right,
that you're
right.
not just feeling like you're pressured to use Buffer. Like we really want to meet you where you're at, just make your life a little bit easier.
Sure.
And that's why everything you do natively is fully reflected when
Oh,
you come back to Buffer.
that's a great idea. So if someone wants to use this community feature, how much does it cost?
0. Yeah, it's
Even
free.
even for free users, it's
It is.
zero.
It's available for free, which I think is, part of I was sharing earlier how we can sometimes do things that are a little different or
Sure.
that might be a little bit more difficult. It's for, it's on the free plan, including channels like X, which are typically on paid plans for a lot of companies. We looked at equivalent services to what we're offering in the market, and they can go from, hundreds of dollars. But we believe, as I was sharing earlier, that engaging is part of that equation. If you're not engaging, you're really missing out. You won't see your best performance on social. So that's why we think it's strategic and important to support small business and creators and keep this on the free plan. So you can use it for free up to 3 channels. And then we have some limits in place, but those will make sense as you start growing. Like for example, save replies are limited. You get one, but if you need more, you can upgrade to our essentials plan.
Got it.
So we have a series of things that are just limited. AI suggestions, for example, we get reply suggestions so that if you're blocked, you don't know what to reply. We offer reply suggestions at the post level, and we actually look at your past 30 days and up to 200 posts and to just mirror your tone, emoji use to try to sound like you a little bit,
Very smart.
in case you're feeling blocked. But we really want to encourage people to, find their voice and reply. But we understand that sometimes you're blocked, and this is where AI reply suggestions can come in. So those are included as well. They're limited to 15 on a weekly basis. But there's a ton of goodies in there on the free plan, and I think it's unique and rare to be able to find a service like this for free on the free plan.
Yeah, that's great. Diego, can you tell us what is the Buffer team working on? What are you going to be releasing in the near future? Are there any things that you could tell us ahead of time?
Absolutely, and I'm happy to share, but we also have a roadmap that's fully transparent as well, where you can know what's coming. We're always talking about this quite openly. That's one of the cool things about being a values-led company, where transparency is at the core of who we are.
Can we link to it in the show notes?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's do that.
Yep. So exciting things that are coming. We have a ton of them. So for example, community, which we launched, will continue to evolve, and we have a thing called Smart Triage, which will help you. So community is focused mainly on helping smaller creators and small businesses who get a few comments just manage those quite easily, right? But on the other end of the spectrum, we have people who get hundreds of comments, sometimes thousands of comments per post. If I remember correctly, I think 1.3% of our active customers get more than 1,000 comments every time they post.
Oh.
So for some people, it's hard to, truly hard to reply to everything. It's just not possible. So what we're introducing is Smart Triage, which will help these large creators basically sort comments more easily to find meaningful conversations that they can dive in, right? So AI will just basically sort all of this and say, all right, we found 300 comments that seem like simple replies. They're mainly emojis or just the word amazing, and those are good. We'll put these here in case you want to kind of work through these. But then these 10 or 15 seem like really meaningful conversations. Like these seem like things where people went above and beyond to share gratitude or to ask a question or discuss an interesting topic, and you might want to jump into these, right? So AI will kind of be very good at sorting that. And we can talk a little bit about our philosophy with AI at Buffer. We really don't want to create too much, like we don't want to create content on your behalf. We just want to use AI to give you superpowers so that you can work through things more easily, right? Like we don't want to become like a spam machine where you just like with AI create a ton of terrible content. We're really focusing on the meaningful human connections, but we think AI can help you identify trends, topics, analyze your past content, or analyze hundreds or thousands of your comments and say, look, this is an emerging theme. You should maybe talk about this in your next post, So that's where I think AI can really shine, where it can analyze thousands of data points, comments, metrics, posts, and give you wings, give you superpowers to do cool things with that. So the next thing that's coming is Smart Triage, which will help you, well, particularly large creators, but I think it will be interesting as well for smaller creators. You can also create custom categories. So you could say something like, if someone mentions, the name of my podcast or asks a question, this goes into a specific bucket, right? So you can create custom rules, so to speak, or custom categories, and we'll have a few templates to help you get started. So I think that's one of the ones that I'm quite excited about. And then another thing that's more in discovery is that we're focusing on the cold start problem. So this was for the end of the spectrum where you get a lot of comments, but 90% of our users get less than 3 comments per post, right? So and community is still valuable because with notifications and everything, things can slip through the cracks, and it's still useful to have a tool where you can reply to these comments across all of your channels in just one place. It's calm, it's organized, and you don't get sucked into an algorithm or like a feed. You can really just stay in this calm place and reply to comments easily. But here we're also introducing ways for you to find meaningful content to engage with, even if you don't have any comments at that moment. So I think that's another area that we're investing in that I think is interesting, and that I think will be helpful for people getting started, because it's how you also build a community. It's not just about replying to comments you get, but it can also be about leaving comments on other people's posts as well. So that's an area that we're starting to invest in and do a little bit of discovery around. So more on that. That's what I can share right now, but the rest we're still investigating and figuring out the right angle there. So that's also coming.
Looking forward to all of that.
Yeah.
Are there any other success stories that you can share from customers, either features you've worked on or features that others have worked on, or just people who are very happy with Buffer in general? Any stories you could share around that?
Well, we have a lot of those. I think the ones that really are special to me is when people share things like, "Oh, we're a small nonprofit, and we are, they're focusing on different causes." We have people helping, sports organizations, or, uh, you know, uh, improving people's health or mental health. There's organizations from all around the world that use Buffer differently. So all the way from having a landing page with start page to posting regularly or engaging in the comments. I think those are the ones that really fill my heart when people are like, "Oh, thank you so much. It's just me, and I'm trying to keep this organization alive, and we have an impact in this community." So we hear, I remember one in Australia recently, but we have people in the US and other parts of the world that rely on Buffer to build those communities. And I think those are the ones that really get to me. But small businesses too are very special because I think, a lot of Bufferoos and folks at Buffer are also entrepreneurs and people who are starting businesses. So a Buffer, because as I said, we're a fully transparent company. We really want to be our true selves. We have people volunteering at nonprofits, or we have musicians. We have people starting their own businesses, and we're very open about all of that. And we use Buffer for those causes as well, right? So I know how hard it is to get a business off the ground, and I have a lot of respect for small businesses and for founders of small businesses. So I think those stories are also very exciting to me when people are, starting their business and Buffer becomes a key part of that journey. Those really get to my heart as well. So yeah, but there's tons of stories there. We have about 70,000 paying customers, so and growing fast. And MAU numbers, I think we're around 200,000 monthly active users. So we're touching a lot of small businesses and a lot of small creators, and I'm hoping we'll be able to see that increase even more, because I think unfortunately a lot of people haven't tried Buffer in a while, or they checked it out maybe 10 years ago but don't realize how much it has changed over the years, and how much of an investment we've made to really improve the UX or offering. We have many more channels now. We're bringing some of the features that were traditionally unpaid to the free plan. So for example, Engage, which was our engagement offering, was only available for Facebook and Instagram, and it was only available to paid plans. And with Community, it's now available for 6 channels and for free. So we're really committed to going down and wide. And the next thing that we're focusing on is analytics, which right now we have a paid offering called Analyze. But next year we're going to be investing more in bringing analytics and insights to the free plan as well. So we're really doubling down on supporting small businesses and creators, and that's why my invitation is, if you've used Buffer before, to check it out again, because it's changed a lot. And if you hadn't heard of it, I think it's a great tool to help you manage your business or your brand, your personal brand, because today a lot of businesses are solopreneurs or people building a brand, and I think or a nonprofit. So I think we have some great tools in place to support these small businesses and creators.
That's fantastic. Can you tell us, where can we follow your journey online and keep up with all the things that you personally are creating content-wise?
Yeah, so you can find me on, we can leave it in the show notes. I'm on Instagram sharing my journey as a product manager, also on Threads. I share a lot there, and on LinkedIn. I think that's where I share a lot of content as well. We like to, at Buffer, because we're fully distributed and mainly an async company, we write a lot and we make decisions in writing usually. So I like to document my journey too, share some of the learning, some of the struggles, and I tend to do that in written format, and that's why LinkedIn and Threads work really well for me because I share like a little bit of behind the scenes or hard decisions that we made or how things are working out, and that's I think where you can find follow my journey and learn more about that.
I love it. Diego, this has been so great having you on. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me. This was super fun, and yeah, I had a great time. Thank you so much.
Let's get it. The year was 2013. You posted your first pic and you're glad your post got seen. Your friends liked it too, but what you didn't know is what posting on that platform would do. Taking all your time and attention, doom scrolling. Also, let me mention, you gotta post on every platform, putting content on every set just to conform. Likes gave you validation and you got hooked. Now engagement is down, you feeling overlooked. Hey, keep coming back for more podcasts. And find me on Instagram at Daniel Hill Media. I'm gone.
Diego, I know you at Buffer have a 4-day work week. I know also you mentioned before about being remote. Working remote is the dream for so many people. Adding a level of a 4-day work week sounds even better. What's it like really having a 4-day work week? Like, are you doing 4 12-hour days so that you can just do catch up on email on Fridays? Like, what's it really like?
It is one of the best things that's happened to me, honestly. It's hard to imagine being at a company or a place where we don't have it. It was a game changer. We've been doing it for almost 5 years now, and it started off as an experiment. We were like, what would happen? Can we be as productive if we do, if we just work 4 days a week? The hypothesis, the thinking there was, what if we're fully rested, that we're going to be so productive?
What a crazy idea.
What a
We're
crazy
fully rested.
that if you really like rest for 3 days, you're going to be way more productive. So it's less about the hours that you're putting in and more about the output. You're making better decisions. You're finding creative ways to be more efficient in your job or bringing innovation to the market. And I think that can only be done if you're truly well rested. And that's kind of like our thinking there. I think when we first started, we said kind of like our philosophy is to leave it all on the field. And that's kind of how I work from Monday to Thursday. Like there's nothing else happening. I'm fully engaged, fully focused on my work because I know I can run errands on Friday or I can fly on Fridays, like because I live a more nomadic lifestyle with my partner. We spend part of the year in London, Mexico City, Portugal, and we kind of like spend our time in these 3 amazing cities. And I get to do that thanks to the 4-day work week. But I'm also doing work that I'm really proud of, that I think is probably the best work of my career because of the 4-day work week. And I also wanted to add that when we started, because it was experimental, we were like, all right, how do we do this?
Right.
So we're like, all right, every team can choose which day they take off, right?
Oh.
So at the beginning it was a bit chaotic because
sure.
It was like, I was going to message someone. It's like, oh, wait, no, they're resting today.
Yeah.
So we're like, okay, maybe we need to think this through a little bit. And we decided, okay, let's standardize it. And we started with Wednesdays off. So basically what we would do is we'd work Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and Wednesday we're off. We did that for a little bit, and that was so bizarre. I was like ordering pizza on a Tuesday night and thinking like, it felt like a Friday.
Right,
and I'm
right,
like,
right.
and
It's a
I'm like
weekend
watching
thing,
a
but
movie,
not, right.
and then I'm like, wait, my neighbors have to work tomorrow. So
Sure,
that was
sure.
like so bizarre, but really fun. We did that for like a month. And then we did it on Fridays and we voted as a company and we decided to keep it on Fridays. So every weekend is a long weekend for us. But at the beginning we tried Wednesdays and it was so bizarre. It was really fun. I actually liked it because weeks felt like nothing. It was like
Broken up,
Monday,
yeah.
Tuesday,
Yeah,
you're done.
Right.
Thursday, Friday, weekend again. It was like so weird. So that got me thinking about like as humans, how we have these systems in place and we
Right.
rarely question them. We're
Right.
just like going about our lives, going to work, and we don't think about that too much.
Yes.
But yeah, the 4-day work week is a powerful thing, and I wish more companies would embrace it. There's many things that we do at Buffer that I wish more companies would embrace, such as the transparent salaries, which is incredibly powerful from a diversity standpoint. But the thing that would follow for me is the 4-day work weeks as well, because of the flexibility that you get. And in a high trust company like Buffer, it's not just working 4 days a week. It's also the fact that we are mostly async. On a typical week, I won't have many calls. Like I'll have 2, 3, 4, 5 calls. It's a handful of them. But we have time to run an errand if you have to, or work around your schedule. If you have kids, take them to activities that they might need to do. In my case, I don't have kids, but I have the flexibility to start later if I want and work until later because we don't have a ton of meetings. So it's very flexible, and I think it really empowers people to do their best work. So yeah, if people are interested in the 4-day work week, we have a couple of articles about that, and it's I think one of the things that makes Buffer unique and rare and a different type of company.
I love that.
Yeah.